The Ryan Goodman and Tangway podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Okay, it's time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tangway Along for the Ride podcast in Zoom, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, guys, we're going to start with the Celtics. We did have a late breaking session last week when the deal was made for Kristaps Porzingis. We covered it briefly. But now let's get into the meat of it a little bit and talk about the Celtic team. Of course, we are going to talk about the draft. Chris Paul is on the move to Golden State. Free agency's coming up, so we'll get to that. But right now, Bob, let's start with you. How do you feel about the Celtics right now as constituted, as the dust settled?
Differently than I did when we convened a week ago. That is, my initial reaction to the trade, as you both know, was that I was very skeptical, at the least. I didn't denounce it, but I was skeptical. And the reason I was skeptical was that my vision of Porzingis was that he was 7'3" and he stood in the corner all night long and he cranked up threes like the rest of the world and didn't take full advantage of being 7'3" and you know that he had abandoned himself to the new way of world and that was that. And I'm not interested in a guy like that. And I didn't want one more person clanking up threes for the Celtics. It was doubling down, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What I have since been informed by many people is that did I see the Wizards last year? No. Who watches the Wizards?
No.
Who did?
Nobody saw the Wizards. They weren't on.
Right.
I mean, so I didn't see him. I'll be honest. I didn't see him play last year. I don't think I saw a game. Apparently, not apparently, but from what everybody's telling me, oh no, Bob, he did in fact post up last year. He did in fact change up his game last year, and he was very effective there. And he can do it. And if they want him to do it, he will do it. I have subsequently learned that the problem in Dallas, was that Carlisle insisted that he stand in that corner and be 6'2", and he didn't want to. That's what I'm being told about Dallas. So, hey, mea culpa.
You got to reach out. Hey, you got to reach out to your boy Carlisle and find out.
Really, mea culpa, Kristaps. Is that the case? If that's the case, and he's actually, and now how are they going to use him? Let's see how Joe's going to use him. If he's going to use him that way, then that's a different look. That's an additional look. That's a needed look. You guys know this. When I cry about the three, it's because there's no balance. The three. You utilize the three as a weapon. Utilize the three as part of the deal. But don't sell your soul to the three and live and die with the three. That's what I say. And anyway, and if you're 7'3", now I'm also told that now he's not a great rebounder, never has been, but he isn't a bad defender. And he actually isn't a bad defender on a pick and roll at 7'3", which is really interesting. He's got that kind of lateral mobility. He has athleticism. He can actually put it on the floor if he has to. And he'll block shots. So, So I'm amending. My initial reaction was based on my own misinformation or non-information. So I'm feeling better about it than I did a week ago.
I love this because everybody killed Bob. Like, you know how many people asked me this week? Well, like my dad even asked me. He's like, yeah, Bob hates Porzingis, doesn't he? He asked us yesterday. I said, well, Bob doesn't really like these bigs that stand out there and fire threes. So it's good to hear that now when Kristaps Porzingis sees you, he won't run the other way, before a game. You can go up and give him a little bit of a handshake. And
by the way, and I'll summarize this, is that I'm only too happy to be proven wrong. I mean, it's, with regard to the benefit, the welfare of the Celtics, number one. And I try to live journalistically by the Ralph Waldo Emerson credo, which is a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. And there's no reason why you shouldn't always be free and willing to change your mind. So
I agree. And when you make a mistake, own up to it. Who cares? Listen, we have enough opinions in this world. You're gonna get some wrong. Like there's nothing wrong. Mine with Jaylen Brown. Like he got better. Would I still pay him 5 years, $295? No, of course not. But he's gotten a lot better than I thought Jaylen Brown would ever be.
Everybody at the Garden got wrong because they booed him. Remember? So yeah, I mean it's and Bob, well said. Look, with Washington last year, you saw the numbers improve, and I just thought that he's a better three-point shooter than Marcus Smart. So it was addition.
Much better.
Much better. Whether you're 7'3" or 6'2". And if you're 7'3" and you stick your hand up, You got to do something. So, Bob, it's good to hear that you got that scouting report. But so now let's go on the other end. In Boston, I'm going to start with Bob on this one because it's a historical thing. Trot Nixon was a wonderful, wonderful dude.
Nixon. Where are we going with this?
Marcus Smart is Trot Nixon. Trot Nixon, okay, was the dirt dog. He was a good player, not a great player. Take a look at his numbers. You know, J.D. Drew was hated in this town. They had the same numbers. Trot Nixon was adored.
Yeah.
Adored.
He had a dirty hat.
Had the dirty hat, you know.
Dirty hat.
And listen, Nixon was a good dude. I mean, he's a great guy to cover. He was a great guy. But you know, he was a very good Boston ball player. He's perfect for Boston. So that brings us to Marcus Smart now, Bob. Mm-hmm. In this city, we love to anoint the heart and hustle guys. But even my 18-year-old son said the other day, Dad, heart and hustle only gets you so far. You know? So like the discrepancy between the pro and the con of Smart leaving town and the way he left town, I mean, you would have thought that a relative died. I mean, really, Bob. I mean, in this town, this happens because of a personality and heart and hustle. A player's ability gets escalated in the minds of the fans.
Well, I happen to be, a member of the fan club from day one, and I think he's a little bit better than that. I think than the Nixon level, because he is a special. Now the word gets abused. I'm trying to use it properly. Unique, one of a kind. There is no other mid-sized player that plays exactly like Marcus Smart. Does some of the things that he has done in the course of his career, make plays that no one else has made. The only guy I ever saw only 6'5" guy who ever intercepted an alley-oop pass intended for a 7-foot Greek. I'll never forget that play as long as I live. And an alley-oop intended for Antetokounmpo. Nobody makes that play. He made that play. He makes plays that don't compute. He makes plays. Collins used to do that too at times. Nobody else did stuff.
Yeah, positionless.
Like but he's fearless, reckless. You know, and will sacrifice his body and flop. He's the first guy since Jerry Sloan that was equally good at both. And infuriate opponents because he could do it both ways. And we know his flaws. We know his injudicious, I'm trying to pick my words carefully here, his injudicious use of the three at times was infuriating. And it was a negative for the team. We know that so many times he always thought he was a great 3-point shooter, and you know, he wasn't. He could make a three. There's a difference between I can make one now and then, and I should be shooting them often. Okay. But he gave you something, je ne sais quoi, a spunk, a grit. I remember at one point in a time a couple of years ago when he missed some games and they floundered a little bit without him. And I was talking to Doc, and Doc said he gives them toughness. And now, who's left to give him toughness?
That's the question. That's the question. More than anything,
Williams is the next one up, and he may not be here.
Yeah,
that's not tough. What Grant gives him,
he's a bluffing tough, right?
Right.
He bluffs.
And Marcus, you were like scared of. Other teams were scared of his toughness. Nobody's scared of Grant Williams.
Right, Grant Williams is
the only thing Grant gives him. The only thing Grant gives him is somebody who will actually open up their mouth and talk.
Right,
because they don't really have that. Like, go down the list, guys. It's not good. Like, Jason Tatum has come a long way with his maturity, but he's never going to be a vocal leader. Jaylen Brown is not going to be a vocal leader. Malcolm Brogdon is, who knows even if he's going to be healthy for the start of the season, but he's not going to be. Derek White, Horford, Rob Williams.
No.
Who am I forgetting?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Those are your top 6 guys. So it scares the hell out of me, although I was in favor of the trade and said that the Marcus Smart era probably ran its course. 9 years was enough. But my biggest fear now is like, this is going to be the most passive looking group. And I don't know how likable they're going to be. Now, they'll be likable if they win, but if they don't, we start counting the playoffs, right? Like, these guys don't show any emotion, none. And there's nothing more frustrating than watching a group that doesn't win, that shows no emotion when they lose. And that's what we could see with this group. And I think you got to get a piece somehow. If you're Brad Stevens, you got to bring in a rotation guy who's got some energy and toughness. And, Jordan Walsh, their draft pick, which I really like. I didn't love it at first because, what I told you guys was like, I want to draft a guy who can make shots. Like, I don't want anybody else in this roster that can't shoot. Jordan Walsh really can't shoot. Okay. Right. Can't. But with Marcus Smart being gone, I guess there's a place for Jordan Walsh because he's an elite, capable of being an elite defender in the league. He has long arms. He is athletic. He plays hard. But, guys, he shows no emotion. Like, he's not Marcus Smart. He's not going to be super intense, yelling, screaming. That is not going to be Jordan Walsh.
Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times. That's 10 times your first bet amount of bonus bets and up to $200. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to be, hitting the first home run. All in the app that's safe, secure, it's super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Now, over the big picture is that the question at the end of the season posed by all fans and media, are they going to stand pat and try and come back again and say, hey guys, just play better, just and because the talent was sufficient. It was the extra layer that Miami had and they didn't have. Can you manufacture that, or is that just organic? Or are you going to do something to give a different look? Yeah. Well, they went for B. Okay, I thought that was probably what they were going. They were more likely they were going to change it up, and they have changed it up. Now, once again, I'm more excited. Now I'm fascinated. I want to see, now that I know that Porzingis can do what I want him to do. Are they going to let him do it? Yeah. That's the next. So I'll tell you what. I wish training camp started tomorrow. For me, I'm excited to see. I want to know how it's going to work out.
Well, one of the things I'd like to say that I think Marcus will find, Jeff, I'll start with you on this, is I think that John Moran is going to benefit greatly from him. And I think that Marcus is going to do very well with Memphis. And I agree with you. It didn't run its course here because of the way the team finished. But this might be the best thing for Marcus in the long run.
So I agree with you on Ja as a human being, that he will benefit from Marcus Smart, right? Like, Marcus will probably hold him accountable. He's been through a lot. He's obviously been in a winning culture here for a while. What I don't agree with is the fit. I hate the fit of the two of them together because neither one can really shoot the ball. So I don't like the fit at all of them playing together, but I love the fit of having Marcus Smart in Memphis, if that makes sense, to help bring Ja along, because that's more important probably than anything right now.
But no, you're right about the shooting part. But Ja still, when he's healthy, can give you 30 a night.
Yeah, he can. He's just not a great shooter.
Right.
That's his biggest weakness. That's Marcus Smart's biggest weakness. But again, the biggest thing is just getting Ja, honestly, on track and keeping him on track. So if having two non-shooting, guards out there at the same time, see if it works.
You're not wrong about that. But Bob, the way I see it is that, this is a turning point for the kid Moran. This is it. This is big. And, you have somebody like Smart who, I have problems with his threes and all that, but he shows up to work. There's one thing that you have to say about Marcus Smart, and he had his temperamental moments. He was always a pro. The guy always came to play. He showed up for work to do his job. And I think that in of itself could, I don't want to say save John Morant. Maybe that's a bit dramatic, but it's needed.
What I'm thinking about as you're speaking, Garrett, and this life crisis, if you will, this crossroads. for John
Yeah.
Morant to salvage a career. What is he, Jeff? Is he 23? You know,
Yeah, he's young. He's young.
boy,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing how this league is. Who comprises the league? Larry turned 23 during his rookie year.
Yeah, he's 23. Turns
How
24
about that?
in
And,
August.
and these guys are, well, look at Tatum's a 6-7 year veteran now. Going, I mean, just saying, this is fascinating. But I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting.
I think both teams are going to be interesting to watch. To me, now that brings us to the draft. I do want to talk about some other movements in a minute, but let's segue to the draft on this, because Jeff, you did a great job. This is your area, but like I look at number 1 through 58 or whatever, and they're all kids. I'm like, you just, like Bob just said it. I mean, John Morant's 23. I just feel, I don't know. I almost feel bad for these kids. I look at them and I go, I have no idea how any of you are going to do. And I'm just talking about from maturity level and living the NBA life. I have no idea who's going to be good or not. Do you?
It's really hard to figure these days, especially again when you added in overtime elite in the G League Ignite, because we haven't seen those kids as much. At least I feel pretty good about, and I don't feel great about my assessment of Brandon Miller, because I saw him for a year at Alabama. Anthony Black, I saw a year at Arkansas, and Jarris Walker at Houston. But yeah, I mean, it's dominated by freshmen now. Freshmen, overseas, international kids, and guys who went to the G League Ignite and overtime elite. The older guys, if they're any good, Gary, they're gone already. They're not sticking around. They're gone after a year.
I have no idea, by the way. I didn't research it. Do you know off the top of your head, Jeff, if any 4-year players were drafted at all in the 60?
I'm looking now.
It used to be
Jalen Pickett.
Who's going to be the first one?
Jalen Pickett, Bob, he played 4 years. He started at Siena and then he went to Penn State. So
okay,
he played 4 years. He was drafted 32 by the Pacers.
All right, that's
nobody. Oh, Ben Shepherd from Belmont played 4 years. He was drafted by the Pacers at number 26. So yeah, there are some guys, believe it or not, just nobody in the lottery.
Oh, no, I believe it. That's why I'm used to be
Jaime Jaquez, Bob, 4 years at UCLA, drafted 18 by the Heat.
Okay, all right.
So there were a bunch, but generally, again, in the lottery now, you're not finding 4-year kids.
So no, Jeff, who do you if you can summarize the draft for us, and we all know about Wembanyama. I mean, I think the kid needs to eat a lot. So who did well, as best you could tell us, winners and losers, if you can even do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do it because again, like we don't know. I mean, we don't know. I didn't love Orlando's draft. I didn't love it because they took at 6 Anthony Black, who is a long freshman point guard who's not the most athletic dude and doesn't shoot it well, but he's really long. Orlando has a bunch of average point guards as we sit here today. They drafted Jalen Suggs. They've got Markelle Fultz. They've got Cole Anthony. I just don't know. I mean, again, they're looking for something that they haven't been able to get in many a try. And then at 11, they reached and they took Juwan Howard's son, who to me was the third best shooter on the board after Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins. So I was befuddled by that pick also from Orlando. So I don't love Orlando's draft, to be honest. That's the one that probably was a head scratcher for me as much as anything. What did I love? I probably like Grady Dick to Toronto. Again, I think he's the best shooter in the draft. He slipped to 13. Toronto gets him. They compare him with Scotty Barnes. I don't know what else Toronto's doing, but Scotty Barnes he can be a really, really good player, not a great shooter. So I like, again, I just like teams that have a vision here for how they want to put together their team. And I don't love adding guys right now in this NBA that can't really shoot the ball. And there were a lot of them in the top.
Do you have any feel for the Twins?
So here's my feel for the Twins from talking to people around them.
Just so people know, the Twins are
Amen Thompson
and Asar.
and Asar. Amen for Houston and Asar 5 to Pistons.
Amen is more of the point guard. Asar is more of a wing. They are super, super freaky athletic, like top 1% of NBA athletes immediately. They're long. They can really, really guard. Amen has become, a point. He's not a true point, but how many true points are there in the NBA anyway? So he'll be fine. My biggest concern is the same thing it is for Scoot Henderson, who went number 3 to Portland, and even more with the Thompsons, right? My biggest thing that I was told was these dudes are high character and you can't keep them out of the gym. They want to be in the gym 4 times a day, all day. Well, in 2 years at Overtime Elite, being in the gym all the time, their perimeter shots haven't gotten any better. That scares the hell out of me. Now, again, maybe the people teaching them weren't good enough. I don't know. I just feel like, man, 2 years of being in the gym all the time, your shot it has to get better with repetition. That's what everybody says in the NBA. Like, just put in the work and your shot's going to get better. Well, their shot hasn't really gotten better. Scoot's got better a little bit, but the Thompson twins, we'll see. I mean, again, it's one of these, Gary, where like we'll see in 5 years probably how good these kids are.
I know. That's the hard part. Like
one issue that came out of the first round, Jeff, is that if there was one surprise of a drop, it was Cam Whitmore.
Yes.
It's projected to go in the top 10 to 15 for sure, 10, and went 20 to Houston. Did you hear any reason why suddenly that he dropped?
So he was not red flagged. He was not red flagged, which means medically he would drop because, the doctors would have found something out, whether it was at the combine through medical or when he went to teams. That was not the case. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's one of those where, sometimes the problem too is everybody expects Cam Whitmore to go in the top 5, 8. Okay. So those are the only teams that actually have his information. The team, he didn't work out. He's going to refuse to work out for teams, 10 to 20, right? All of them. So Houston actually had his info because they also had the number 4 pick. So they passed on him at 4, but they at least had him in, they knew. Where some of these other teams are probably terrified. The Pelicans are drafting it at 14. Well, what do? We don't know. We didn't think he'd be there. So we don't even have the info. What the hell is going on? Maybe there is an issue that we don't know about. We're not going to take a shot there with 5 minutes on the clock. So I think that might be part of the reason Cam Whitmore fell as far as he did. But I was surprised.
Okay.
Now
a good pick. Hey, a good pick, guys. Derek Lively by Dallas. Dallas traded up and got Derek Lively at number 12. He's perfect for what they need because think about it. They have maybe one of the worst defensive guards in the league in Kyrie and another one who's not great defensively in Luka. And Derek Lively is long, athletic, can run, and can block and alter shots. Does he need to get stronger? Absolutely. But he's the type of player they needed.
Okay. And Chris Paul on the move to Golden State. But that's going to become official on July 6th when Jordan's pool paperwork, all that stuff gets taken care of and he gets more money. Bob, does this guy have anything left? And does he fit there?
He has, I think there's something left. And of course, the big issue with Chris Paul is to gift wrap him and to treat him like a Ming vase and hope that you have him when you need him in the months of May and June. I mean, April, May, and June. That's, that's been a problem. He's going to be 39 at that point. He still has enough left, I think, to affect a good team and in a positive way. People, all kinds of speculations. Does he fit? I think, yeah. I mean, remember his thing about Curry. Curry's not a point guard. Let's get this straight. Curry is a shooting guard who can pass. His raison d'etre on this earth is not to go out there and make everybody else affect. It's out there to score points for Steph Curry. And by the way, he has a great head and heart, and he'll pass the ball. But why not? Why won't he fit with Curry and with play. I think he's ideal in that sense. Am I missing something here?
No, I think it takes some of the pressure off Steph. I think a lot of people are worried, like, well, Steph has the ball in his hand so much, he's used to it. But I think it can take some pressure off Steph. The key, obviously, listen. Well, there's two keys. One is, right, how does it work? Number one, that's the biggest one, that will be intriguing to watch, how they're going to play with one another there. And then number two is obviously the biggest one, which is like, is Chris Paul ever going to be healthy when it matters?
The other thing is, if you were ever out there with the two of them, that's going small. I mean, that's really
small.
Yeah.
And now, but remember about Steph Curry, people. Yeah, we think about him and the ball handling and the pregame routine and the boom. He moves without the ball better than any player in the league.
Yeah.
He does both.
Yeah.
He's
so
Ray Allen. He's Havlicek. He moves without the ball. He'll love playing with Chris Paul. I think he won't mind not having the ball. He'll do what he does well, get open and boom.
Right. Should be fun to watch. As we put a wrap on this, I'm going to put Bob Ryan on the spot, Jeff, but he always comes up in the clutch. Bob, any NBA draft stories? And the one good thing about the summer is things get a little slow with the news. We always go into Ryan's mental archives. The one draft that this is going way back with the Russell thing. Like, how many times did Red see Russell play? And just if you have any nuggets on the draft and in what
now, what I'm told is that Heinsohn gave him a great scouting report because Russell kicked Heinsohn's ass in Madison Square Garden. So I doubt he saw him very much. You didn't have television.
Oh yeah, I mean, forget it.
Nothing. He's in San Francisco. You're having in those days a 72 game NBA schedule in the playoffs. I'm sure it was all word of mouth and his sources. He always had sources. Bones McKinney recommended Sam Jones. He didn't see Sam Jones play. Never saw him.
Wait a minute. Who?
Bones McKinney, who had played for Red back in Washington, who was a coach at Wake Forest. He recommended Sam Jones, this guy at North Carolina College. So I doubt he did. Here's my favorite draft day story. In the old days when the draft was a conference call for the team, we went out and sat in Red's office in 1970, and the few of us, and listening on the Squawk Box.
No way.
For the NBA draft. And when I think it was Chicago Bulls draft Kennedy McIntosh, whereupon you could hear laughter all over America in these offices. They thought it was a ludicrous draft pick, and didn't tell.
So are you telling me you're in Red's office watching his face as these picks are being made?
Yeah, that's the way it worked.
Come on, seriously?
This is 1970.
Who else was in the
So
other?
by the way, the draft was the day after the end of the regular season. Season ended on a Sunday in March, and the draft was the next day.
So do you remember who the other writers were?
Yeah, how many people were in that room, Bob?
Would have been not that many. Eddie Gahuli of the Herald, Joe Looney of the Herald Traveler. I'm assuming maybe half a dozen.
Did Red have other people that were helping him?
I don't remember how many other people were in there that day. But that's yeah. So that's the way it was. But
Did they have snacks?
Yes, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, wait a minute. There had to have been some booze.
Oh no!
Oh, I figured there'd be like a bar or something in there.
No.
Okay. No. All right.
But anyway, that's my vignette for my first.
But that was Cowan's year, right?
That was Cowan's year, and of course, my favorite draft day story, of all, is that in 1973 or 4, I forget which, doesn't matter. I'm back at the draft was at noon, and I'm back at the office by 4, and I'm helping answer the phones, and the phone rings, and someone says, "Did anyone take James Brown of Harvard?" And I said, "Yeah, the Hawks in the 4th round." I said, "You a Harvard fan?" He said, "I'm James Brown." That is the gospel truth. And in case anybody thinks Bob Ryan is making that up, that has been reconfirmed by James Brown himself at a Harvard gathering last month.
He called to find out if he was drafted.
Yes. And I informed him that he was drafted and he knows this to be true. He told the world that yes, Bob Ryan's telling the truth.
That's awesome. That
Can't-
is tremendous.
I mean, I can't end on a better note.
Wow.
And more Bob Ryan stories coming up throughout the summer, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff, Bob, be good. See you next week, guys.
Okay, guys.
Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets.